pretty good.
We got about 7, but then I think you 2 were virtual originally, right?
Yep.
So we've got about, I'd say about 10 or so.
Okay, pretty good.
So,
For this area.
hey everyone. I'm not sure if everyone can turn on their mics or not. I just wanted to see if everyone can hear me okay.
How are we gonna, do you have it set up so that I can hear them?
They may have to do the chat. Make sure my mic is on the right one. Speakers, yep. Oh, somebody said something in chat.
I can hear.
Okay, sorry guys. Yeah, if you can't unmute, that's fine. This is my first time using Teams for the webinar feature. So if you guys have questions, go ahead and pop them in chat. So we start in here in about 5 minutes. And bear with me too. We're still waiting for a few more people that are coming in physically to the office here. So if I happen to jump away for a second to let them in, bear with me on that. This will be recorded. So I'll be putting this on our YouTube site. And I'll give you, once this is done and up there, I'll let everyone know where it's at if you want to revisit the video. Okay.
Because our setups are like almost identical. What's your EDR? Trade micro. Also trade micro.
Yeah. Advanced lots on that.
From trend.
All right.
I don't see much.
All right.
Yeah.
Have a nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Come on in.
Hey!
Okay.
You did show up.
Travis.
Travis.
Yep, from LPL. Going on.
Great.
And from Northland. Oh, okay.
Well, hopefully.
Hey, old man.
Good to see you, too.
Is it Kyle and Logan?
Kyle is gonna be remote.
Oh, he's gonna be remote.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, he wanted to be in person.
Was Logan coming?
I don't know, Logan's not my team.
Oh, wait a second though. Are you, Adam was, oh,
There's another,
oh,
we do have,
we're thinking of another Kyle from the county. That's what I'm thinking of.
Gotcha.
Okay,
I'm guessing your Kyle is Kyle Z here.
Kyle's, yep.
okay.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, there's Kyle, yeah.
Mhm.
Has anyone heard of this program before?
No.
Atomic Red Team?
I don't know.
I found a YouTube video on it. I was like, ooh, this is pretty fucking cool.
Yeah.
But then I was like, I'm not putting this on my corporate PC until I have like a safe space.
It's the same thing I did. I'm like, yeah, this is gonna go.
Good place to put it at work.
A lot of the tasks are pretty much benign.
Yeah.
It's mainly just stuff to spark your EDR system to catch stuff, you know?
Yeah, well, the funny thing is like for us, we have the same managed service provider. And they have their own network technicians and monitoring on top of it. So the last thing I want to do is like plug this thing in and hit full send and all of a sudden blown
Yeah.
up by the network engineers. So.
Yeah, and there's a lot of atomic tests they have on there. There's lots of them. They use a lot of the MITRE techniques on here,
Yeah.
so.
Now, to be fair, they wouldn't be surprised if I was the one doing it, but it's still a call I don't want to make today or tomorrow.
Sometimes they swear on that my day. That's pretty good. That's confidence building with nothing else, right? What's that? Builds your confidence. Get HR involved.
I got my ass slapped by the mortgage loan officer last week.
Really?
Oh. Yeah, that's my wife. But
Oh. So, has she heard anything on
Buying a new house?
you should stick at that.
I could, yeah. Some good friends with their contact centers.
Just yell.
There's Logan and Kyle. Hey guys, come on in.
Hey. Good to see you, Logan.
See, we're gonna start here in just a couple minutes, guys. Do you guys have any problems getting that Atomic Red Team installed or anything on?
I accidentally deleted that email, so I didn't do it.
Okay, that's fine. That's
I
fine.
got it.
I don't know what happened to it, because I was bored. It's like-
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and start. Okay, it looks like, are we recording?
It did say started recording.
Okay,
Recording has started right there.
all right, good.
Got
Okay, now it's 2 o'clock. Let's go ahead and start here. Thanks for everyone coming. Here's the office and virtually. My name's Eric Vanderveer, owner of Intricate Security. I don't know if anyone knows who I am, but I've been in Alpena for a long time. I was the IT director for the county for about 8 years. Before that, I worked for Chown & Associates as a consultant. I did a lot of schools around here. And I don't know if anyone knows who Dick Chown, but he had sold his company to 1010 Technology, I'd say about 4 years or so ago. Yeah, and then before that, I was a system administrator, network technician for SpeedNet. Everyone remembers SpeedNet back in the day.
Radio, right?
Dating this.
Yeah, I was there at the very beginning in 2001 when they came to Alpena and they bought the FCC license for the Spectrum. I was actually going to college for the ACC here for the network system administrator, and they came in looking for people to do call CSRs. So did CSR for a while, and I'd say not even about 6-7 months into it, my boss goes, "Hey, you want to learn how to work on a Cisco switch?" Popped a Cisco switch in front of me and said, "Figure it out." That began my networking career from there. And just, I'd say about 5 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, I started took some classes for security, got hooked on it. And about 3 years ago, I left the county and started doing my own business here. We do everything from penetration testing, security assessments. We've got clients that are DoD clients that we help secure them, getting ready for their audits, do lots of penetration tests. Also, we do a lot of virtual CISO type services. So this webinar is going to be based off of the Atomic Red Team program from Red Canary. I'm going to go ahead and go to the next slide there. So what we're going to be talking about is the introduction to MITRE ATT&CK and Atomic Red Team. And we're going to be showing how to use Atomic Red Team for attack scenarios. And then we're going to implement Security Onion, which is an IDS, a SIM, all built in. I don't know if anyone's familiar with it or not. It's a very good security tool, and it's open source and free. And then we'll do a little demo hands-on lab trying to do some of the Atomic Red Team attacks, and then looking at Security Onion and seeing how it captures it, and then you can look at it and figure it out from there. So with that, let's go ahead and go to the next slide. So what is the MITRE ATT&CK framework? It's a structured knowledge base of cyber adversary tactics and techniques. It's developed by MITRE, which is a nonprofit organization. So once again, it's nonprofit. They are open source, so that is free. It's provides a common language for understanding attackers' behavior. So imagine trying to defend your home from a burglar and not knowing how they operate. This is what this stuff does. It shows you what a hacker does from the beginning of how the reconnaissance, how they get in everywhere to the very end of how they try to send stuff out to their command and control. So it's got all the different types of attacks, and it is open source, so that it's community driven, and the community updates it with any types of new techniques or tactics that are being seen out there. They try to implement it into the MITRE ATT&CK framework. Let's go ahead and go on to the next slide. So this, if you want to do a search for MITRE ATT&CK from Google, if you go to the main page, this is the techniques, or the matrix, I guess you want to call it, This shows the tactics. The top there, receiver says reconnaissance, resource development, initial access. Those are the tactics. These represent the why of an attack technique, describing the adversary's goals or objectives. Now, each tactic corresponds to a phase in the attack life cycle, such as initial access, execution, persistence, privilege escalation, everything an adversary would do their steps in when they infiltrate your network. These are the actual steps that they will go through. If you look at reconnaissance there's 10 techniques. And the techniques, they are specific techniques that describe how an adversary achieves the tactical goal. Techniques provide more detailed insights into the actions of an adversary that they might take to fulfill their objectives. And then the sub-techniques are, if you were to click on one of those techniques, you would get some sub-techniques. These are more granular descriptions of the behavior under a technique, offering a deeper insight into the specific actions an adversary might perform. And then if you're on that web page, and if you clicked on one of these sub-techniques, if you go to one of them, you'll see in there also 2 mitigations and indicators of compromise and tools. The mitigations are things that outlines things that can help prevent or limit these types of attacks that these adversaries will do. So they'll give certain mitigation ideas. And then you also have indicators of compromise and tools, which indicators of compromise are going to be things like if they ran a tool, what does the tool do? Does it run a PowerShell command? Does it run a CMD or command or run DLL 32? So it gives all the indicators of compromise and then the tools that these adversaries, if you actually go to one of these sub-techniques or techniques, it'll actually show the adversaries out there that are using these techniques. It'll give the organizations that are using it. So if we're going to tactics, the next one there, definition of the tactics, like I said, tactics represent the adversary's objections of why. The categories of tactics, the matrix categorizes tactics into phases. Like I said, reconnaissance, resource development, guides defensive strategies. By identifying the tactics used by adversaries, organizations then can tailor, you can tailor your defensive strategies to address specific threats and vulnerabilities of each stage of the attack. And it's great for threat modeling. So these tactics provide a foundational framework for threat modeling. So if you do have a nice EDR system or a nice SIM, this is stuff that you can be doing when you're looking for threat hunting. You can run these tactics, look at your SIM, and see exactly what those tactics do and how the SIM is recording it. That way you can put it into your threat hunting procedures, because not all EDR systems are going to catch everything. It's always good to do a little threat hunting if you know what you're looking for. And this stuff here will help you know what to look for. Go on down to the techniques. Techniques are the detailed actions. Techniques describe the specific methods or how adversaries achieve the tactical objectives during an attack. So, for instance, within the execution tactic, the technique scripting can be broken down to sub-techniques like PowerShell, Bash, Python. So wide range of behaviors in MITRE ATT&CK matrix documents a comprehensive set of techniques that cover various actions across different phases of attack, such as gaining access, executing commands, maintaining presence, and stealing data. Sub-techniques for depth. Many techniques are further broken down to sub-techniques. This depth is crucial for cybersecurity teams when analyzing attacks, as it allows them to pinpoint the stage of an attack more accurately. And then facilitates tailored defenses. Understanding the techniques that these adversaries are using will help you develop tailored defenses, improve your detection capabilities, and then implement specific mitigations to help you with your security monitoring. So, for example, if you're particularly vulnerable to, let's say you've got applications that's vulnerable to SQL injection. Well, that's something that you're going to want to focus on. So finding the atomic attacks that are geared towards injection helps you monitor those better within your environment. Like I said, there's the next part of the sub-techniques. Sub-techniques are refinements of techniques, providing a more precise description of adversary actions. They help in understanding the nuances of how a technique can be implemented in various ways. So examples of some sub-techniques. For the technique spear phishing, under the tactic initial access, sub-techniques might include spear phishing attachment, sending emails with malicious attachments, and spear phishing links, emails with malicious links. And these sub-techniques specify the method of spear phishing more precisely. Guides defensive strategies by identifying specific sub-techniques used by adversaries. Organizations can tailor their defenses more closely. For example, if spear phishing link is identified as a risk, an organization might implement advanced email filtering, educate users on recognizing and reporting phishing attempts, and then deploy web filters to block malicious links. And another basis for threat modeling, these sub-techniques can also be part of the full techniques, help you with your threat modeling. So one example of a sub-technique would be pass the hash, which is the method of authenticating as a user without knowing the password. And that's under the technique credential access. Security teams can focus on specific mitigations like enforcing the use of Kerberos authentication, which is less susceptible to this type of attack. The next one is the mitigations. Preventive measures, mitigations like application allow listing. That's a preventive measure. You can use Microsoft's App Locker. We utilize a program called Threat Locker for our clients. It's used to block certain applications from running. You create your whitelist, allow only these applications. It's one preventive measure. Tailored security policies, customized mitigations such as MFA, displaying, they're directly countering credential dumping. So, if you have MFA, it's an extra layer of security to help protect against dumping of credentials. Reducing attack surface. So one of the mitigations could be network segmentation, reducing the attack surface, limiting attackers, how they can move around your network. And the last thing is enhancing detection and response. Audit log analysis as a mitigation. One of the mitigations will be, hey, you need to go in and look at your logs and look for this certain type of execution. So those are all types of mitigations that the MITRE ATT&CK will give you on their website. And like I said, if you go to the website, you'll get all this information from each of the different tactics that are out there. And last thing is the indicators of compromise and tools. Indicators of compromise include unusual outbound network traffic, some computer talk in China, sending out all kinds of data, unless of course you've got people over in China, but you know your environment, so you're watching for that stuff. Tools for adversary actions. Tools refer to the specific software or the scripts that are used by these attackers, such as Mimikatz. Anyone familiar with Mimikatz? It's a tool that uses the LSASS file or executable file, and it can pull memory, passwords in memory from a computer. We've used it before in some of our pen tests. If the computer is not patched properly, it works pretty well. IOCs and incident response. During incident response, IOCs like unexpected data bundles in your networks, exiting points may indicate data exfiltration attempts. And then tools and mitigation correlation. The identification of tools like PowerShell Empire, which is a framework of a bunch of tools that are PowerShell tools that are in a database that PowerShell Empire allows you to do searches on so that you can do adversary attacks on certain types of criteria. Another program is called Metasploit, which is very similar to PowerShell. And it has a bunch of database of all kinds of different security exploit tools that pen testers can use and the hackers can use to exploit computers that are vulnerable to whatever type of vulnerabilities. All right, the next thing is the Atomic Red Team. And this is by the security company called Red Canary. They've been around for, I want to say, I think it's around 10 to 15 years. I've taken a SANS course with one of who's one of their security engineers consultants, and he was doing a SANS course on network forensics. So they're very good, and a lot of their engineers put together this Atomic Red Team, taking a lot of the MITRE attacks and creating these atomic tests based off of those different types of MITRE attacks. So modular testing, Atomic Red Team enables security teams to test their defenses against specific techniques within the MITRE attack framework. Continuous validation. It facilitates continuous validation of security controls and incident response processes to ensure that defenses are functioning as intended and that the teams are prepared to respond effectively. Community driven. Also, MITRE attack is community driven. So is Atomic Red Team. It's an open source project. The community always contributes, and they share a lot of the atomic tests, and they improve on them if anything is found new in the wild. It's flexible and integrative. The tests are designed to be integrated into various stages of security operations, from development right up to deployment, and can be executed in different environments and systems with minimal setup. It's an educational tool. It serves as an educational resource for security teams to learn about the attack techniques, understand how they might manifest in their environment, and improve their threat hunting and detection skills. Next one there. Understanding the Atomic Red Team workflow, step-by-step execution. Atomic Red Team tests are executed in a step-by-step fashion. So how that works is a lot of the tests can be ran. Let's say a test that runs that creates a compressed file after it scans a folder and looking for certain files like document files. It then one of those atomic tests can create a zip file, grabbing those files and put them into the zip file. Then you get another atomic test that will then send that file out to the internet. So you can use these in step-by-step execution. And then that can be used to also follow along in your SIMs and your EDR so that you can see how an adversary would do the steps. Customizable parameters. Each atomic test comes with customizable parameters, making it possible to tailor the test to fit the specific environment or scenario being assessed. Minimal requirements. Tests are designed to run with minimal prerequisites, ensuring that they can be deployed and executed with ease across diverse IT infrastructures. Execution through Atomic CLI. The Atomic Red Team command line interface enables the running of tests from a central point, streamlining the process of executing and managing tests. Most of the stuff can just be done right from your computer and then ran. Mainly what you're doing is one, the two big reasons for running MITRE or the Red Team, Atomic Red Team, is one, so that you can see how these adversaries work, and two, you can also test your security tools, make sure they're catching these things. And then visualization with Attack Navigator. We're probably not going to be able to have time to get into the Attack Navigator. I didn't really have it set up, but it can be used after running the test. Results can be visualized using the MITRE Attack Navigator, providing a clear overview of which techniques have been tested and how the environment responded. Benefits and outcomes of using Atomic Red Team. Practical defense testing. Atomic Red Team provides hands-on testing to verify the security tools. And like I was just saying, Verify your security tools and configurations are effectively detecting and blocking common adversarial techniques. So if you start running all these tests and they're going through, you may, a lot of times I have these set up to whitelist the directory where Atomic Red Team has its test, but it still will run programs. It'll pull down certain programs that can be malicious if they're used in the correct way. Like I said, a lot of this stuff is benign. They're just using these tools to show what an adversary will do. So your security tools should still be catching these programs that are being run from Atomic Red Team. And if not, then you can figure out why. Enhanced team readiness. Security teams gain valuable experience by responding to real-world like attack scenarios, enhancing their readiness and response capabilities. Gap identification. You can figure out what your security tools are not catching and fill in that gap. Automation and integration. Atomic tests can be automated and integrated into your CI/CD pipelines. So helping to ensure that security is maintained throughout the software development lifecycle. If you're an application developer, you can use this also with your software development. And then community collaboration. Once again, this is leveraged community-driven repository. So these tests are always current. People are updating them all the time. All right, last thing we're going to be talking about is Security Onion. So this is just going to be an introduction. To actually show this program is another webinar in itself. It's a very good tool. Security Onion provides a robust integrated suite of tools designed for threat hunting, network security monitoring, and log management. You can use it with your EDR systems you already have. They have lots of integrations. I have mine set up with integration with Defender, with Microsoft Defender, and it will pull in Defender logs into Security Onion. And so I can have a nice repository of all my security tool logs going into one area. Tool set integration. It comes pre-packaged with popular security tools such as Suricata, Zeek, which is formerly known as Bro. Zeek does a lot of the packet inspection of your network. So if you got a nice switch that's set up with mirroring, or if you have a tap in your environment, Zeek will grab all those packets. You set up your Security Onion as a mirroring port, and Zeek will grab all your packets on your network, take them, pick them apart, break them down by IP address, port, and everything. It's also combined with the Elastic Stack, which is, I'm familiar with Elastic Stack. It's another SIM. It's part of the SIM feature with Security Onion, but it uses Elasticsearch, Logstash, and Kibana. It also comes with other tools. I don't know if everyone's familiar with CyberChef. I've used that before. It's a nice tool to, for example, let's say you get a base64 encoded file, and you want to decode it. Take the base64 encoded information, pop it into CyberChef, and it decodes it for you automatically. It can do more than just base64 though. There's lots of features that it can do. This is also community supported. They have a Git on their GitHub. It is free. You can purchase a maintenance agreement with them and for support. I had another class with one of the COO class with Security Onion, and you can get support through them and pay like a monthly fee. You can also buy the actual physical hardware from them. You can pretty much use your own hardware too if you want. Their documentation gives a breakdown of exactly what type of hardware you need based off how your network environment is set up. And it's scalable and flexible. You can set up just one Security Onion, just a managed server that handles everything, or you can have your managed server for Security Onion. Then you can set up sensors. You can also set up another server that will house the data. So it depends on how big your environment is, where you want to pop in sensors. It's scalable with that, and it's very flexible. Here in my office, I don't have many workstations here, but I need to set it up so that I can understand it. So I've got three. I've got the managed server, a sensor and then a server that runs holds the database. Next line, now we're going to integrate Security Onion with Atomic Red Team. This will allow for enhanced detection testing. By integrating Atomic Red Team with Security Onion, teams can run controlled adversarial tests and monitor how well those security setup detects those actions. Real-time alerting. Security Onion does have a feature where you can set up alerts based off of different criteria or filters within Kibana, which is one of the Elastic's tools. And we'll be seeing a lot of Kibana up here because that's where a lot of the dashboards are created. And you can create rules. So if you find a rule in Kibana, or you see one of the rules come in, or not necessarily rules, but one of the filters or processes of one of the attacks, and you see that it's running the command.cmd.exe file, and it's doing this and that, it'll show it in there. You can create a filter, put it in as a rule, and then if it's ever found when logs come in, it will alert you, and you can go to the page to view whenever some of those certain filters were tripped. Log analysis and correlation. This is a SIM. You can send everything from syslogs. It's got lots of integrations. I have it set up to integrate with my Defender, with my dual security, my LastPass, and also Cloudflare Zero Trust. All my security tools pretty much can be all integrated, and everything, all their logs sent to Security Onion. And then continuous security posture improvement. Where did I skip? I'm sorry, incident response practice. Simulates attacks by Atomic Red Team so that you can, if you have an incident response tabletop that you're doing, you can create some of these to simulate those tabletop exercises. And then continuous security posture improvement. The combination of the live monitoring and testing enables ongoing improvement of the security posture as teams can inadvertently adjust their monitoring and defense mechanism based on test results. Okay. Before we get into some of the demoing here, everyone was able to get the Atomic Red Team installed? One thing that I was thinking here we should do is install Sysmon. Is everyone here familiar with Sysmon? I know I've talked to a few of you guys who've never heard of it before. Have you guys heard of Sysmon? I think when I was at the county, you may have seen some of the workstations have it running on there because I did install it. But Sysmon is a Windows tool. It's actually by Windows from Microsoft. It's through their sysinternal suite. If you can, let's get it installed. It's, like I said, it's totally Microsoft certified. It's through them. I would just do a search for Sysmon on Google and go to the Microsoft site and download it real quick. So this way, if you don't have the Security Onion on here, which a lot of you probably don't, when we run these attacks, a lot of the stuff is going to be caught by Sysmon, and you can run it or you can view it from Event Viewer in your computer. So if we could, I'm going to go ahead and take over here. I'm going to take over the screen here. And let's see here. So is everyone able to get Sysmon downloaded? If you can't on the virtual, please go ahead and just mention in there that you can't in the chat. Holly, can you see the chats?
Yep, Colin said he's just following along. He's not gonna do it.
Okay, and that's fine. If you don't want to install it, that's fine. But if you want to install it, it's actually a great tool. And then you'll just leave it on your computer. It's not going to harm anything. But if you get it installed, once it's downloaded, I believe I have it in. I thought I had it. Oh, no, I have it on my virtual here. Yeah, go to the directory where your sysmon is downloaded. You should see. Is everyone able to get online too? Okay. Let me know when everyone has it downloaded. And if you have it installed already now too, one thing we need to get is a config file for sysmon that was created by security professional. Her name is Swift on Security. That's her Twitter handle. She's had this out for years, and the last update was about 2 years ago on it. But it's an XML file. If you do a search for Swift on Security and config for sysmon, you should be able to get to her GitHub site, and you'll see this file sysmon config-export.xml. Download that into your sysmon directory. I'll just wait here. Let me know when everyone has it there. And if you're not doing it, that's fine too. Have some of your filters blocking it? Once you have it, everything installed in the directory, go ahead and run that command. You can either use the sysmon or the sysmon 64, whichever one you want to do. One doesn't really matter. One's 32-bit, one's 64-bit. Of course, if you have a 32-bit one, lucky you. And then once you run that, oh, I'm in PowerShell. Hang on. I got to do this. Once you have it installed, just to check, go into your services. My keyboard is really lagging. And just make sure that it is running. And either sysmon or sysmon 64, depending on which one you did. Everyone been able to get that installed? All set? Okay. If it's running, check your services. It should be good. And then real quick, I'll show you where you will find this in your event viewer. Open up your event viewer. And if you go to Windows logs, I'm sorry, applications and services logs. Under Microsoft, Windows, you will have it in here. Sysmon. Okay. So with Sysmon installed, we'll go ahead and we'll start doing some attacks. Does anyone have any questions so far? I'm sure everyone probably wants to see the attacks happen. Let me clear this out. What I'm gonna do is I've got a virtual set up, a clean, just Windows 10 that I was having problems with my Defender. I tried to go in and turn off real-time protection through Intune, and I was having problems. It wasn't working properly, so I just spun up a Windows 10. It doesn't have no Defender. I turned off Defender. Oh, it had Defender, but it's not controlled through Intune or Endpoint, and I have it turned off so that it'll just allow all this stuff in here to run. But then I also have it on my main computer here as well that does have Defender, so that we can see, you know, if one runs with Defender, you can see which one's being caught, and then if it gets caught, I'm going to run it on a virtual to actually have it go through and run so that we can go look at it in Security Onion. Let me go over to Security Onion. This right here is Security Onion. They have the main interface here. They do have alerts. It has its own dashboards. I utilize Kibana, which is part of Elastic, that comes with Security Onion to do all my searching. But depending on what you're comfortable with and what you get used to, you can do a lot of stuff from here. The alerts are grouped up. It uses, like I said, Suricata, which is an IDS, and you can use the open source free database, which I believe is updated, newer ones every month, I think. So you're always a month behind at any types of new definitions. And of course, you can buy the subscription to them, which you'll get daily if there's any new types of databases. There was Suricata, and then there's another IDS called Snort. You can utilize either one of them depending on when you set this up. You tell it if you want to use Suricata or if you want to use Snort. They're really pushing towards Suricata though. So this will have Suricata. So once you download, when you get it set up, this is the installers used that you install on all your workstations, so that have Sysmon. It will grab the Sysmon logs and send it over to Security Onion. So this is where you download the Elastic Agent installers. This can be pushed out to all your workstations. There are ways of pushing it out using managed type systems like Intune, or if you're using SCCM through Microsoft, or however you're using it to push out software to be installed in your environment. It does have, it's an MSI file, I believe, and you can utilize that to push it out to your whole environment. But this does have it installed on here. So now these computers have the Elastic Agent so that it can read the event logs from the computer. And of course, in those event logs is the Sysmon. So with that, let's go ahead and try a few tests here. Okay, first one we're going to do here is credential dumping. This one is T1003, and we'll bring it up on their MITRE's ATT&CK website. So this is a technique. If you look, there's sub techniques with this. Well, we'll just use the one technique. You can break it down, go even further with different diverse types of techniques with the sub techniques here. But just to show, you can get this information from their website. Here are some of the procedure examples. These are going to be different types of organizations that have used this. A lot of those I see a lot of organizations called APT 28, 32, 39. There's Leviathan, Onion Duke. So these are a lot of the organizations. You can read up more on them by just clicking on it. Revenge Rat. This tells you what other procedures they have used, techniques. So as you can see, they use a lot of different techniques that MITRE knows about and is recorded and stored in here. And then there's the mitigations we were talking about at the beginning. Tells you what you can do to help prevent against these types of attacks. And detection, which would be your IOCs or tools. You look for certain commands that are being run. The Sysmon will record pretty much everything that your computer does that runs any type of file. It's recorded in Sysmon. File access, network traffic. So you can click on these to get more information about these detections. So all this stuff is right here on the MITRE ATT&CK. Now, you can also go to, so once you have it installed, then what you're going to do is you're going to invoke atomic test. We're going to do T1003. And first off, we're going to use the parameter show details. Okay, I see that. I got a shoe in there too. So if we run this, this gives all the different types of different tests that are part of this technique. You see, there's 6 of them. You can also, if you go into the Atomic Red Team folder, all these are in here as well. And we're doing the 1003. If you go into here and you open up the YAML file, this is pretty much the same output you're seeing when you do the show details. So this is in here, and then it's also here. Now, we're going to do test number 6. But let's look at this. So like I said, this is a part where, shows where the test begins and where it ends. So this is a dump credential manager using keymanager.dll and your OneDLL32.exe file. This test executes the exported function KR-show key manager located in keymanager DLL file using the run DLL32.exe. It opens a window that allows to export stored Windows credentials from the credential manager to a file, CRD by default. This file then can be retrieved and imported on an attacker-controlled computer to list their credentials to get the passwords. The only limitation is that it requires a control-delete input from the attacker, which can be achieved multiple ways. There's different ways of, if you're doing this from a remote control capability, running this from like a reverse shell on a computer, and you got a C prompt, you can run this command, and then there's ways to invoke the control-delete to do this. And I'll show you here what happens. But if you look farther down, the executor, it's a PowerShell command. It's a PowerShell script. And in that script, it runs this command right here. So you can either invoke atomic test and run it, this test from the T1003, or this is the command right here. You can just run this command from your DOS prompt too. So it tells you exactly what it's doing right here. So if we were to invoke this, and this is T1003, oops. And this is test numbers. We got, you gotta put a plural. This is number 6. And one thing I like to do is if there's any prerequisites that maybe you don't have, you can put this in. And it will check to make sure it's got the correct prerequisites. This is only going to run DLL32. It'll actually tell you if there is prerequisites. It'll tell you in here too if it's needed. But I always just put it on there at the end just to make sure. Run that. Did I spell that right?
You didn't put Brad.
What's that?
You didn't put Brad.
Oh, you're right. Is it? No. Oh, you know what? It's not team. Sorry.
Test, right?
It's test. There we go. Okay. And it should pop up. And it didn't pop up. You know what? Let's try it on this one. This is I don't think I did it on. I think when I did this originally, it didn't run again after I tried it again. Let me try running it from the test demo machine. Okay, atomic test, yeah. T1003. And let's just run it. Oh. I didn't do the test numbers. Just so you know, if you don't put the test numbers in there, it will run all the tests in order. So just so you know. So this, and actually though, this is what I wanted right here. It actually ran this one because there's the test number 6, executing test. So it ran this, and so you could run this from a DOS prompt, a remote DOS prompt. But if you had RDP connection to the computer or a type of remote GUI interface with it, you then would just run this. You hit backup, and say we're going to back it up to, let's put it into our documents here. We'll call this test cred. It'll create a CRD file. Next, this is the security thing. You got to hit Control Delete in order to finish it. And I'm going to do it from, I think it's Control Alt N. Input Word Alt Delete. There we go. And just put a password in. File has been saved. And if we go into our documents folder, there it is. And then you would use another technique if you were actually doing a whole process. Run one that will do exfiltration. You take this and exfiltrate it out, either using it, and we have some of the exfiltration tests that we're going to do in here. So now with that, let's go over to Security Onion, and let's go into the Sysmon. The last 15 minutes. Okay, this isn't the InSec user. That's what I have the user on my virtual. So we'll filter it down to the username InSec. And this is the Sysmon dashboard with Security Onion. A lot of these dashboards already come pre-installed. They're already installed. You can once you figure out how to create dashboards, if you look at the raw logs that are coming in, you can create your own dashboards to add more information. Let's say there's a certain filter parameter you want to grab and you want to put it on your dashboard. You can create the dashboards on here. They're pretty simple to create. But here we know that it ran the run DLL32.exe file. So we know it ran that. So here, I have another thing here, top 10 processes. There's the run DLL32. Let's break it down even further. Let's just look at run DLL32. Right there. That's the command we ran. So this is an actual attack that an adversary will use. So if you wanted to, you could create filters based off of this right here, knowing what the command is being used and what actual parameters are being used at the end. All this stuff is in here, and the sysmon will grab this stuff. And what I would look, if you've got any SIM that you're utilizing at your organization, look to see if your SIM can ingest sysmon. Your EDR systems may be able to also ingest sysmon logs. A lot of them are, I mean, because it is a Microsoft tool. So look to see if it can do that, because this right here, if you notice, my Defender didn't catch it, because you're running a tool and the application is a Microsoft application. It's just being used in a malicious way. So these are one of the tactics. Record it, put it into your procedures to review, and then you've got one procedure set up. So that's one way of finding it out. Let's go ahead and look at another one here. Here's one. This is a lateral movement. This is a technique that once an adversary is in your environment, they're going to try moving around, trying to get to other locations on your environment. This is a attack where it'll utilize the Windows admin shares through SMB, and it'll add files to it. So let's go and test this one. This test number is T1021.002, so it's a sub technique. And let's look at this one. We're going to do test number 4. So you can, when you do the show details, it'll show if there's more than one test, it'll show all of them. But if you know exactly which test number it is, you can add the parameter to the show details to just look at a certain one. This is number 4. So this one executes a command running the output to the local admin share. Of course, with lateral, since we don't want, this is just, like I said, we're not trying to write to someone else's computer on your network. We just want to invoke this and write something. So you notice that the command that's being used, cmd.exe, this parameter here, -c, tells it to invoke this command, hostname, which, I mean, if you were to write hostname right now on here, name of the computer, insect.com, -com. So you want to tell it, okay, run this command, output it to this share. Everyone familiar with the admin $ share on your network? Output.text, and then can't close it off when it's done. How many here are allowing SMB on workstations to be able to connect to port 445 on workstations? This is definitely one thing in workstations. Workstations do not need to have 445. Nobody needs to write to workstation file. Now, your servers, yes. If you have a file server, yes, you need to have it. So let's invoke this one. And did I run this one from? Yeah, okay. So that one ran. Now, if I were to actually go, trying to think, I think it's Windows System 32 as the admin, but just to make sure, we'll just actually pop it in here. Oh, I see. Hang on. I'm missing a dot. There it is. There's the output.txt file. Open it up. insec-comp. So I could write, if I have a certain command I want to run and get the output of that command when you run it, I can have it sent into a text file, put it into the admin share, and then exfiltrate it through the network. So let's see what Sysmon caught and sent over to here. Let's do a refresh. Let's get rid of run DLL 32. Okay, we know it ran the command CMD. There's the command line right here. This is the actual command line that was ran. Let me just do this. Let's break it down. There's the actual process. Pinpoint it to that. There it is right there. Now, if you wanted to see more information, if you go down to the bottom here, this is the actual raw log that comes in from Sysmon. And when it comes into Security Onion, it comes into the log stash, which is part of Elastic. That takes the file and parses it so that Security Onion, or I should sorry, Elastic can read it and put it into Kibana. So if you look here, all this information is brought in from Sysmon. The event action, process creation, the data set was Sysmon. There's all kinds of information in here. And this is the stuff that if you wanted to add to the dashboard, let's say you want to get a breakdown of what Windows operating system that are running these. And if you've got a pretty diverse environment of, let's say, Linux, Macs, Windows, you can break it down with the operating system. Here's the working directory that it ran it from. So when it ran, it actually put it into the temp file first to create it so that it could then send it into the admin directory. The parent command, we actually ran this from PowerShell. So all this information is in here to help you break down what happened. So there is one. Now, of course, this wasn't caught by Defender because this is another technique that's not malicious, really. Let's see if I know I've got some in here that should be caught by your EDR system. Now let's just try a few more here. Let's try, I think it's T1005. Let's look at this one. This one is collection data from a local system. Oh, okay. Let's look at this one real quick. So this test searches for files of certain extensions and saves them to a single zip file prior to extraction. Now, if you start looking at this here, so here's the command. This is the actual script that's being ran. And if you noticed, you've got parameters in here that, okay, the starting directory. Well, what is the starting directory? I have no idea what that is. This is where you can go into the YAML file, and we will look at T1005. Here's the actual inputs. So this explains the command, and here's actually what's being run. So this starting directory is actually going to be C:\atomic test. Originally, it was set to C:\users, and I wanted to go into the atomic test. So if you can configure these and modify them. So if you go back to the atomics, and this was T1005, and you go into the YAML file, and let's open this up. Here are your input arguments. See where it says starting directory here? This is the executor. This is the actual, this right here. I don't know if you're familiar with YAML. Anyone familiar with JSON? It's a type of formatting of configuration files, XML, YAML, JSON. This one is just through YAML. So this executor is the actual command, or tells it to, this is what's going to be run. These are your arguments. If you look here, starting directory, originally it was set to users. Here you can set it to wherever you want. Also, file extensions. So if you look at the script, it's telling it to look for get child item. This is the PowerShell command to scan your directory. Recurse means look through everything. Looking for a file where object is file extensions contains extension.toLower, which actually tells it to, I believe, to look at each one of these and scan for them. So file extensions parameter here is your file extensions here. Originally, it was just doc, docx, and text. I added XLSX and XLS in there. So you can program these, write them up yourself. You know, you can modify them however you want to run. So with that, let's go back to here. So yeah, it's going. So what it does is it scans and looks for them, returns the files that it finds, and then if it finds the files, compress them into a zip file, write it to the output zip, which is output zip is the Atomic Red Team's atomics under the external payloads, and then it should then create this data.zip. If you also notice here, see they got cleanup commands. Tells you when you run these commands and then you can clean up to get rid of whatever you just did. So it tells you how to clean up too. And you just run this command right here. So let's invoke this. I've actually created, I created this folder, atomic test. I have a docx file in here. So it should find that. Okay, now it created the file into the external payloads under the atomics. I don't know why it does this. It's got, so Atomic Red Team, atomics folder, then it says go up one folder, go back out. So you're back out of the atomics, then go to external payloads. I don't know why it does that. It just should just remove this out of here. But anyway, so if you go into the external payloads, there's the T1005. And there's the data zip file. Let's open it up. There's my doc1.docx. Another way of this is scanning for any types of files, grabbing them, zipping them up, and then once again, they'll send it off through some kind of exfiltration mode. We're doing on time. Okay, good. All right, so this one, we can go back into Security Onion. Let's just do another quick look again. Oh wait, this is not under the INSEC though. We ran this from the conference room. So that should be under mine. And what was the command it ran? It should be a PowerShell command. PowerShell. There's PowerShell. This right here gives, so if you're looking through your logs for PowerShell commands, you see something like this, where it actually gives the full script. So you can actually look at this and read through it and find out exactly what's going on. So this is a good threat hunting find right here, because this is the PowerShell is not going to be, you can't think of any reason why it would be running something like this, where it's zipping a file. And if you do see it, then you're going to try to investigate, okay, is this common? Because I noticed there's PowerShell, a lot of companies will block PowerShell completely from running, but Microsoft does utilize PowerShell to run some things in the background. Specifically, Defender uses PowerShell. Intune, if you're running Intune, if you're using Azure AD as your, it runs PowerShell commands to do updates to pull new stuff down from Intune. So you got to be very careful when you're utilizing blocking PowerShell to do it or not to do it. But anyway, this will catch it. So you can see why that Sysmon program is very nice. Event Viewer itself, if you weren't running Sysmon, a lot of this stuff would not be caught. So you can see the Sysmon tool is very good to have on your workstations, especially when it comes to for threat hunting in your environment. Trying to find one here that invoked. I think this one did it. Let me try this one real quick here. No, that one too. Watch my Defender rule change for real-time protection got turned off, and it just now kicked in. If it did, that's fine. I can show you though, from when I was testing this out the past 2 days. I'll show my Defender what it had caught. Do one more here. Now that one, this is running a curl command. Yeah, for some reason, these are all not being. Let me show you though. Over to my here's my Defender. Oh yeah, I had one in a command, a test in here to invoke a schedule, a task scheduler, and Defender didn't pop up, but yet Defender at least recorded it, and then you notice there it says suspicious task scheduler activity. So this was one of the atomic tests that ran. And if you click on it, it goes, it actually gives full detail. PowerShell exe executes a script. There's the script that it ran, invoke atomic test T1105. Yeah, it goes down to, oh, these are all the different, this is when I was testing it out. I had GER, it's like, oh, that's the wrong command. It recorded every keystroke, pretty much every command that ran with Defender. Okay, so here's the one where it actually ran. Suspicious behavior by cmd.exe was observed. You click that. Here's another cool thing. Defender is set up, and a lot of the EDRs, Trend Micro, I believe too, a lot of them are lining themselves with MITRE ATT&CK as well, because it is a very good framework to use. So you notice that this is already aligned up, and I believe that was the one. Maybe it wasn't. I can't remember now. I think it was. This was the atomic attack I used was 1059.003. So it actually aligned to that technique right here.
I know when we looked at other ones that aligned.
But yeah, a lot of
Yesterday.
them will align. If you don't have Security Onion, your EDR systems should be able to catch this stuff. And if not, that's something that you need to figure out and talk to your management and say, hey, you know, this stuff is not being caught. We need it to be caught. Hopefully you can, you know, show this stuff with it, that you're doing it when you're using Atomic Red Team, to show them a lot of this stuff is not being caught. This is stuff that adversaries are using. So we need to beef up our security. So it can actually be a good tool for your management to get money as well, if possible. That's the thing is with security, you always see those memes that security team's budget before an incident, you know, you just have like $1 bill or something. After an incident, you see these stacks of money, you know. So it's like, if you can get your management to see what you see before an incident happens, kudos to you. Great. This tool can help with that as well. I'll just do a couple more here. We're getting close to the end, but I want to leave about 5-10 minutes at the end for any questions or anything. Let's see here. I want to try to get my one to catch Defender to catch it to stop it. This is malware masquerading and executing from zip file. Let's try this one here. This one is 1036. So when this one is when the file is unzipped and the readme.cmd file opened, it executes and changes. There's a PDF to DLL and executes the DLL file. So we'll run this and we'll actually look to see what happens, what's happening in the background. This one is test number 2. So what this actually does is, did all the dependencies work? Okay. So it brings up, it runs the calc.exe file. Of course, it's going to run something that's benign, but of course, an adversary is going to run some other type of executable that's going to try to bypass your EDR system or your malware. But what this does is, let's bring up the details. Let's show details. So the command, PowerShell, expand archive, the path tells it to go, so the path to Atomics folder, which by default is already configured in Atomic Red Team. It knows where it's at, C:\Atomic Red Team. External payloads, T10036.zip. So let's go look and see if that, it should have put that file in there. No, it didn't. I think it removes it, deletes it when it's done. No, it should have put it in there. Oh wait, it goes to the downloads file. That's right. There it is. So what it does is it has this readme.cmd and this PDF file. And of course the PDF file looks legit, but this command that's run converts it to a DLL file, which then is used for the CMD file. So if you were to look at this CMD file, it tells it to rename 2.pdf to 2.dll, and then run DLL 32 2.dll start W. This DLL file, if you open it up, apparently is set to open up the calc file. So it renames it to a DLL, back to a DLL, which it is. I bet you if you were to look at the PDF file, the magic bytes number probably is not going to be an Adobe. No, it's an MZ. Everyone know when you look at what MZ is? When you're looking at a file, MZ is it's the initials of one of the programmers for Microsoft way back in the DOS eras for executable files. That's how you can tell it's a Microsoft exe file. It's got MZ in front of it. If it was a PDF file, 9 times out of 10 is going to probably say at the beginning the magic byte numbers or bytes is going to say like Adobe or something on it. So one thing, if you're doing any type of forensics, just some high level stuff, if you see a file that's not an exe file and it's a PDF or whatever, you can just right click it and look at the open up in a text file. If it is an executable file, it's going to have MZ in front of it. And of course, this is a DLL, but DLLs are executable files. So an exe or a DLL file is going to have in front of it. So with that, run DLL 32 was invoked. So if that's the case, then we should be back here and refresh this again. Let's get rid of, let's see here. Oh, right here. Since it was run through PowerShell, there's the CMD. I just saw it in here. Where'd it go? Yeah, right here. There it ran the .cmd file. Okay. Got about less than 15 minutes left here. Figured I'd leave it open for any questions. If anyone online has any questions, please pop them in the comments. Does anyone think this would be a tool that you could use in your environment? I know a lot of you had some issues with running it with all your security, which is good. That's good.
Yep.
So probably things you're going to have to do to try to tweak that to allow it to run. Your EDR systems, is anyone using, I've heard Trend Micro. What are you guys using for, are you using any type of EDR system?
EDR is a little fancy.
Yeah.
We have a couple of things we use, but we don't have something specifically doing an EDR role.
Okay. And that's where a lot of there are some like Defender, if you are in a Microsoft 365 environment, if you're using that, Defender is a good tool to have. I think the Security Onion, this can be set up. You can even, the nice thing with the Security Onion too as well, you can spin it up in a virtual and just run it with your like a testing environment too. You can actually, if you've got if you're running a sniffer like Wireshark or something and you save the Wireshark packets, you can actually ingest them into your Security Onion. If you're just running it as a virtual by itself, it'll ingest the Wireshark packet files, and then it will parse them, and then you can use it with your dashboards to see what's going on with that Wireshark packet trace that happened. So if you can use that for this as well. It's a great tool for forensics. Any questions?
The initial config file for
Sysmon?
Sysmon, where is that again? What to search for?
Swift on security.
Swift on.
Yep. There are a few other ones that are pretty good, but if you want, I mean, you can open up that XML file and let's see here. I'll just show it to you real quick here. I don't have Notepad++ on this. Once you get past all the hoopla of all the blah 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 EULA type stuff here, this in here is where it starts. There's the event filtering. There's a lot in here. These are some of the command line stuff that it's looking for. So if you want to read through this to get an idea of what it grabs and is looking for and storing it, it's all in this XML file. So yeah, a lot of the security classes I've taken when it comes to network forensics, this is one of the big ones they recommend, is the Swift on security one. She has it programmed, configured really well. So yeah, Swift on security, it's in her GitHub repository. Just download the XML file and then use that as the configuration. And when you go to the GitHub, her GitHub repository, it gives the instructions on how to install Sysmon using her XML file.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of the stuff that's being done, we want to start using a lot of the stuff that they use in here for our pen testing, so that, because a lot of the stuff is pretty good tools. Some of the stuff, we were learning some new things that that adversaries are using. So if you can get this down and figure out, start recording all these atomic tests that are in here, you're really, and if they have a good EDR system, you're on a good point for your security already. Because I'll tell you, when we do pen tests, if we get an email from the client saying, "Hey, we caught this or this or this happened and this happened," is that you? And 9 times out of 10, yes, it is. We'll record that in our report. So we ever have a pen test, if you make sure that if a pen test is going on and you're catching this stuff, let your testers know, because they'll put that in the report, and then you can use that report then, stating that this stuff was caught. So if you know what's happening, it's even good for to know that when you're having a pen test as well. So. Any other questions? Any questions on the virtual side? Nothing? Well, I hope this was good, informative. I think it's good to know what hackers are doing.
Yeah.
So,
You can probably honestly run a whole class on this.
oh yeah,
That's a cool tool. There's a lot to unpack in it, just to figure out how to use it.
yeah. And the thing is you got all those tactics. You've got reconnaissance. You've got all these different types, initial access. So there's so much more that you can run. So yeah, start carving out time to run these tests. And like I said, you don't need to run this on an environment. Run it on a computer that is using your EDR system, and just run it from there. You can even run it segmented if you're really cautious. I mean, honestly, there's nothing wrong with this. Everyone uses it, but if you're cautious, that's fine. Segment this and then just run these tests and make sure your system is catching this. That's the other thing too. So, okay. Any other questions? There is my Teams. There's the Teams. If not, I'm going to go ahead and stop recording. If you have any other questions that come up later, feel free to email us. I'm also going to send everyone a little certificate saying you came here. You need to go with your office, your manager to let you know you were here. I'll get that out to you. Yeah. And I plan on doing more of these. So if you guys have ideas for any types of these webinars for security like this, let me know. But I plan on doing some more of these. So keep on a lookout. I'll email you guys when I have new webinars that are coming up. And like I said, if anything you have any interest in, let me know. And the other thing is though too, anybody that's not, I know majority of our people that are on here that are here are local. We do have a couple that are out of state, but get with me after if you're interested in having a security group that meets, monthly, just to talk. There are groups out there already, the MISEC communities. We could create a MISEC community here. So if you're interested, let me know. With that, if there's no other questions, we'll go ahead and stop the webinar. Thanks everyone for coming.